So this is the second part of a two-part little series I did on focusing mechanical cameras with mechanical lenses. So if you haven't seen the first one, after this, go look at that one. That one was on pre-focusing cameras. So when you step outside or wherever you're going to take your snaps, you can kind of pre-focus the camera and it'll be kind of set for you. You don't have to think about those things. This one is on the Sunny 16 rule, which is kind of an old standard way that people used to expose film when you didn't really have access to a meter. So what you do is you would set the shutter speed to match the ISO of the film, which seems kind of strange, but this is how it works. If you have 400 speed film, you start with a shutter speed of 1/500th, because it's the closest shutter speed to the film. If you were shooting 100, you would end up shooting at 1/125th of a second, because it's the closest shutter speed to that speed of the film as far as numerically. So anyway, hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you again. So I want to talk about the Sunny 16 rule, and it's a real easy way to expose your film if you don't have a meter, or if you don't want to have to think about using a meter when shooting film. So the way it works is, Sunny 16 rule, you set the shutter speed to the speed of your film. Now, I know it seems strange, but this is how you start it. So let's say you're using 400 speed film, and this window right here is just for the meter, for the internal meter, so don't even worry about that. So if you're using 400 speed film, set the shutter speed to 1/500th of a second, f16 right there. On a sunny day, that's your exposure. If it's a little cloudy, you can go down, leave it at 500, go down to 8 or 5/6. Simple as that. So if you're using 100 speed film, closest shutter speed is 1/125th of a second. Take it down to 1/125th of a second on a sunny day, f16, Sunny 16 rule. Easy to remember. So 1/125th at f16 for 100 speed film. And then there's many variations of this that you can do. So let's say you're shooting 400 speed film, like you're shooting Tri-X or T-Max, I guess, or Neopan 400 or something. Set the shutter speed to 500th of a second, 1/500th of a second, f16 for a sunny day. Let's say it was getting a little cloudy, but you wanted to keep that f16 for depth of field. You can just lower the shutter speed. So going from 1/500th to 1/125th is 2 shutter speeds. It's the same as going down 2 stops. So it'd be the same as shooting at 500th at f8. So if it was a little cloudy or a little overcast, you could leave the 16 and go to 1/125th. And the same would work if you're shooting with 100 speed film. You're shooting at 1/125th, f16 on a sunny day. You don't want to go down too slow, but I mean, you can go down 1 stop or 2 stop. It just depends. I mean, if you're comfortable hand holding at a 30th of a second, I mean, I hold much slower. You can hand hold as long as you want. Don't pay attention to those rules where you have to have a tripod. So the old rule was, don't hand hold at a shutter speed number that's less than the focal length of your lens. So for instance, if you're shooting with a 50 millimeter, don't hand hold less than 30. Well, I hand hold for 5 seconds if I have to. But then if you're using like a 100, they would say, 1/25th is the slowest shutter speed you should hold. A 200 millimeter, 250. But sure, you're going to get movement. That's just part of the deal. Sometimes you get movement. At least you got the shot. So the Sunny 16 rule, I used it constantly. Okay, that's just the basics of the Sunny 16 rule. You can keep using that as you get into even lower light. This isn't the fastest lens. This is a 20 millimeter 3.5 from the 60s. From the 1960s, so it wasn't a super fast lens. But if you're shooting with like a 1.4 lens or a 1.2 or an f2 lens, let's say you get into where you're shooting the Sunny 16 rule, 500th at f16, it starts getting, darker, whatever. Suddenly you're shooting 500 at f4. If it gets darker, you're shooting at f4, you can start lowering the shutter speed. And as you enter into a room or something, or inside of an interior, you can suddenly, you suddenly have to make decisions, So then I would just open up the lens all the way to whatever it was, and then just start using the shutter speed. Okay, that's just a basic kind of overview of the Sunny 16 rule. Use it to your advantage. You don't have to think about the meter. You just pre-focus, preset the aperture, preset the shutter speed, and just shoot. Okay, that's just a little brief overview of the Sunny 16 rule. Give it a try. You won't be disappointed. That's all. That wasn't so bad. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again.